Well, yesterday was a big day because I moved in. Spent the day moving most of my stuff in here. Haven't got quite everything, but it's livable, and that's the thing. So I just spent the first night here, and here we are in the first morning. I did say in the last bit that I was going to show you some things that I forgot to update on before, so I'll do that now. The first bit is the shower. Replaced the shower entirely, couldn't figure out what the heck was going on with that, so I just bought a new one. They're not that dear, it's about 80 quid, so that was okay. Since then, this glass panel we've discovered is super unstable, so I'm going to have to stabilise that at some point. And also the bath panel that got left here when I bought the house was completely wrong. It was crap, it was broken, it was just crap all the way around. So I'm going to have to get a new one of those, but I've got a plan because this is not a standard size kind of gap there, because they've made everything to fit whoever rebuilt this back in the day. So I am going to get some like cladding stuff, plastic cladding, and use that to cover it, and that should fit in well with the idea I've got of this room. So that'd be nice. And the other bit I said about was the floor. So here is the after. I've got some carpet and stuff laid out just so I don't get everything too dirty in here, but much nicer than the old floor. There's a bit of the old floor still exposed over by the gas meter, so you can see the difference quite well. I use that wood as a bit of a dam to stop all of the liquid, what's it called? Floor levelling stuff, just flooding everywhere. I've got a bit in the fireplace too. Next job in here, because I just want to get this room finished as soon as possible, so I've got somewhere nice and comfortable to relax of an evening, is I'm going to get a nice hearthstone for in front of the fire, and then I'm going to start doing all of the laminate flooring in here. So hopefully that'll be the next big job, but until then I'm just going to record myself doing bits and bobs of little jobs. So that'll be me of an evening from now on. Howdy folks, here's a little bit of an update. So still in the case where I can't really buy that much, but I can buy bits and pieces. And also I'm getting some freebies off friends, which is nice. So the same chap who gave me some chairs, I don't know if I mentioned that before, but yeah, a friend at work basically, he gave me a couple of old chairs him and his wife didn't want. So they've been my comfortable furniture, because otherwise I've just been living on the bed in a couple of dining chairs I pinched off my parents. Yeah, he gave me some underlay to go under the laminate flooring. Sadly, wasn't quite enough. It was about 3/4 as much. You'll see in a second, it's on the floor. But Dad and I have done a couple of evenings now, made a start at doing the laminate flooring, which is very nice. I'm really pleased with how it's looking. Took a bit of figuring out to put together, but once you get going with it, starting it is difficult, but once you get going with it, nice and easy. I'd be very confident doing this again. Tonight, we found one little spanner in the works, and it kind of answers an old question as well. So here's the front door. Down here, in this ugly corner here. Ignore it's not finished, so yeah, ignore that, it's not quite right. So down here, now you won't be able to see this on the video, but this corner wrapping around here has a slope upwards to the wall. Now, because of that, we've obviously taken up the old carpet. Beneath the carpet there were some old laminate tiles, or like laminate kind of thing tiles, very skinny ones. And then under that, that's where the concrete and all of the adhesive for the tiles was. So we just put levelling compound on there, and we've done it tiny amount. So if you think old carpet, that's going to be probably up to about 1 centimetre deep. And so we put it down, that levelling compound is maybe 2 millimetres to 3 max. So very, very small increase in height of the floor. Now where I'm sat here, right in front of the door, right here there used to be a, like I called it the pit. There's a big groove basically up the floor. That's where like an old, what do you call it? One of these, doormat, that's the word. Old doormat went. And I never liked it. I was like, well, get rid of that and straight away. Now I know why it was there, because the bottom of this corner of the door, the front door, which is the only way in and out of this house, well, other than the back door, and then I've got to go through, do a bloody hot fuzz through loads of different gardens. But yeah, so that was rubbing straight away on this new laminate flooring. Couldn't open the door. Ah, crap, what do? We can't adjust the door. This is a PVC door. Couldn't really adjust it. So what I ended up doing was getting the multi-tool out and just taking a tiny little skinny thin bit of plastic off the bottom. Now, annoyingly, I did have to take off a bit more than I would have liked. Really, I would have liked to have taken maybe 2 millimetres at most, because then I wouldn't be interfering with the seal that's in there, the little rubber bung that goes all the way around it. Well, it's foam, this one. Anyway, yeah, I went a bit deeper than I intended, so I did interfere with that. But that's not the end of the world. There is a bit of a draft there now, so I can feel a bit of cold air coming through. But it's fine, and actually it's been quite a good test doing it tonight because it is hammering down tonight. There's a yellow weather warning. But because of the way that this house is situated, there's no threat of the water or the rain being driven where the weather seal is, or the weather bar, whatever it's called, all the way around the door basically, in the bit on the front of the door. There's no risk of that really, because there's not going to be any prevailing winds blasting water up against gravity into that hole. I'm very confident with that. Also, I did make another little boo-boo. Let me show you. Now, that looks pretty damn good, doesn't it? I think so. If we get down closer, you can see a little gap. That's fine. Now, can you figure out the problem yet? Because as we open the door, it's a much bigger gap. Well, that's why you can measure twice and cut once. But at the time it looked right, to be fair, and I was using the kind of pull bar thing to hammer it into place, and it all kind of made sense at the time. This is definitely one of those live and learn lessons. Also, because there's not a lot of weight, obviously you can see this one here is a different shape. I've got to do a tidy corner there eventually. Now, because of that, there's no real weight holding the floor down there. Now what you normally do is, like what I've done there, a bit of, that's just wedged in place there, I'll describe why in a minute. The skirting board would go on top of that. There is a bit of a gap, that's an ugly gap there, we have to tidy up. All the way around it, because it is wood, and wood expands and contracts and all that. It's a natural product, so that's fine. The skirting board would hide that, that'd be the plan. If you would do this sort of job while skirting board's in situ, then you'd use a little corner round thing to hide the gap. Well, that piece of skirting board is now integral to keeping that floor down, because that just folds up because we've got this curve going up to the wall, so it's not level, even though the leveling compound went down, and it must have been a bit thicker there because it didn't quite level. But there you go, you live and learn. These are the fun things of working on an old house. But that's what we've got so far. So tomorrow is the rest of the front room. You can see some of the insulations. This is the stuff that Chapelwork gave me. A little bit there. Had to buy a new roll, so that wasn't too expensive. Annoyingly, he said, I should have plenty on that roll that he gave me. So then he wanted the rest of it, because it's his, and he has other things to do with it. So now he's getting a lot more than what he bargained for with the rest of that roll. But that's fine. I don't mind. He's been good to me. I'm happy to give him little freebies. Anyway, that's that. And until next time, see what we do. Hopefully this will be mostly finished tomorrow. I'll show you when that happens. Howdy folks, I started working this morning and forgot to do a little video, so I caught myself mid-flow and I'll show you where I am. So first things first, earlier on this week in the evenings, Dad and I completed the laminate flooring, so that's all done. See, I've got the TV and PlayStation set up now, so I've got a bit of entertainment in the evenings, which is nice. What I'm doing today is a mixed bag of things, but I'm just going to do a little bit of recording because it's a freebie job I'm doing. So I'm going to do the windowsill for the front window here. Now what I did first was the top of this was all wibbly wobbly from where the plaster was. Where the plaster had finished, it was just all a bit rough, so I just tidied that off. The way I did that was I just used a Stanley knife. I just went along and gently scraped away. I wasn't hacking at it or anything like that because I didn't want any of the plaster to flake away and create more jobs for myself. So just very carefully going away along. You can see there's higher bits, lower bits. I'll just have to fill those in, very much like I did with the dining room. That was the first job. The second job, once all the area was tidy and nice and ready for the wood to be slotted into, was I took the measurements. Now the measurements I took, because I learned from the back window, because old houses, nothing's square, was, let's move that light out, so you can see things a bit better, was I took the internal measurement, so that'd be the measurement where the window is, where the actual window glassy plasticky bit is. I took that measurement and then I took the front measurement. And the idea being I wanted to see what the angles were going in, because that was the big problem I had in that room. And I found there was a 5mm difference, which doesn't sound a lot, but when you're working with wood it really is. So what I did was once I did that, I measured the depth. So I've got the idea of how deep I'm going to go. Luckily, the piece of wood I've got is just about right for it, which is nice. Now, what I've done here is I've done a little bit of an overlap onto the wall just to tidy it up a bit, because I quite like that look. So I just gave it a couple inches over on either side. So from this measurement at the front, I then added 2 inches onto that. And I'm one of these people who flits in between metric and imperial all the time. So it was 1490 millimetres for that measurement, added 2 inches on there. So that's going to confuse someone on Sunday, no doubt. Did that, measured my piece of wood, which I've got down here, which is the side of an old wardrobe, which my dad got from work. Just something that got destroyed, and they're around mid-cut, as you can see. I cut it to the length I wanted to. I weren't too worried about the edges being all that square, because the overlap is going to be stick out of in top of the radiator, if you will, over that bit. That's just 1 inch. So I just measured 1 inch back from there, marked on my line, so I've got the recesses. I will show you now, take it off the stand. Oh, it's crappy old wood, but it was free, and I can make it look pretty like I did in the dining room. So that's the little overlay bit there. And always scribble a bit of pencil mark on the waste wood so you know what you're cutting into. And then I took an angle, and I can never remember the name of this tool. I always call it my angle finder. This one here. So what I did, well that's the wrong one, I'll show you this one. So you put the wooden bit up against there, we'll see if that sells. And then you just adjust it accordingly, and then you got the angle you need. So with that angle, I put that up against the wood, made a little score, then use a straight edge, which is my long saw there, to do it the whole length of the piece of wood. God, that light is so bright, I'm looking forward to getting a new one. And there. So what I've done there is I cut it to size, marked my angles, marked the waist spot, and that's as far as I've got. So once that's cut, we'll see if it fits. Okay, here's a little update. Now, I've cut the angles, oh, there they are, I so desired. I'll show you the other one because you understand. And so I'm still choking on a Pringle I just ate. Over here, it does not fit. Even though those angles are right, the measurement, the front measurement that is right. And you cast your eye down that angle there, and there too, they look nice and straight. And this is where the eye lies, and this is where you should study maths at school and always stick to those lessons, because this is where they become important. So that angle is fine, that angle's fine, I've double checked those, that looks good. This front measurement is fine. However, at the back there, like I said, that's 1495, and on my piece of wood, it worked out something like 151, or 1510. And so I've got to figure that out now. So that's telling me there are weird bulges going on in this piece of the wall here. And so what I'm going to probably do, which is kind of what I did out there and then I made the mistake, is to try and trim away at the edges. But the thing is, I don't know what kind of weird trapezoid shape I need to make my bit of wood into. And there's a lot of eyeball in it, and doing a big cut like that, it's difficult with a handsaw. And it's really fiddly with an electric saw. Could probably use a jigsaw, but I haven't got one with me. It's just an arse of a job, really. I hate fiddly jobs like this. This is why making stuff with straight lines is so important, basically. When you make it right to begin with, everything afterwards goes well. It's the same old story, you know, you're as good as what you build onto. And this is the situation here. It may sound like I'm annoyed, I'm not. I knew this was going to be fiddly. It's just a nuisance, you know. But there we are, it is what it is. So I'm going to try and figure that out now. And that's that step. Another day, and I finally got to sand and varnish the windowsill. I was really putting it off because it's such a dusty, horrible job, but now I've got it done. The only thing I need to do now is to silicone around the edges, just to make that all nice and tidy, and then give it a good day, I suppose, really, for it to dry out. I've taken my curtain rail down for now, just so it doesn't get smeared or anything like that. Annoyingly, while I was doing it, I did notice the bloody cracks are back under there. And I just cannot get rid of them. There's other little cracks happening elsewhere within the new plaster, which is totally normal and I expected it. It's just annoying, I'd rather do without it. But there we are, that's just a part of these things. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, but there's one up in the corner there in the front room. There's quite a big one up in the bedroom, so I'll show you that now. This one's going to be very difficult to see. But above me here, pretty much in the middle of the screen, you can see it's then curving out into the ceiling. and it goes all the way up to the light fitting. And that's really annoying because none of that is new plaster. That is literally just where I've been drying out the house since I've been living in here. So God knows how long it went without any kind of heating in here. I reckon this must have been such a cold, damp house for so long. So it's a really good thing I'm here, but it's annoying that I have to put up with these things. But that's a lesson for me, I suppose, in old houses and just, I guess, constant maintenance. I can see why the old lady who lived here years and years ago just couldn't keep up with the stuff, you know. There was, before I bought the place, there's a guy who owned it, he bought it off the young couple who'd inherited it from their gran, I think. I think that's how it went. And yeah, since her husband died, she just couldn't keep up with the maintenance, and I can really see that now. So yeah, this is why you plan houses well when you're building them. Obviously, these sort of things weren't an issue back in the day, I guess. I don't really know what technology they had back then or their building practices back in the 1880s. But it doesn't marry up well with modern stuff. So make of that what you will. Either way, I think that's what I'm going to call this video. And next time you'll see some more bits and bobs what I've been up to. Starting to get a bit more money now, so I start to do bigger things, which is really nice. The next job I'm going to be doing, I think, you know, it's going to change probably be doing the front wall in the living room and build the TV stand and the cabinets and all that sort of thing back up. So that'll be nice. I'm looking at going out buying the wood for that today, so we'll get on to that next time.